Well, of course, I've said many times that circumstances in communities cause things to happen, and a sad circumstance in our community happened on a beautiful August day, 1993, August 18th, 1993, and that's the day that Sarah Ann Wood was abducted. 2 days later, on August 20th, 1993, I was introduced to Bob Woods, Sarah's dad, and I was up to the command center up at Norwich Corners Church, where all the police vehicles and the canines and helicopters and everyone was assembled, and my dear friend happened to be the lead investigator in the case. That was Major C.A. Pileman in New York State Police. And he brought me up to the command center and introduced me to Bob. And I said, I didn't know what shall I say to him? And he said, well, just say hello to him. I shook Bob's hand, and little did I know that handshake would lead to many, many years of participating in the Ride for Missing Children. I participated in the search, flew in the helicopter because I grew up in the Sequoia Valley, and I know the valley very well. Early in 1995, Bob Wood decided he wanted to do a bicycle ride, a ride to honor his daughter Sarah's memory. He wanted to ride to Washington, D.C. to honor Sarah's memory and to raise awareness about the plight of missing and exploited children. He got together with a few friends and formed Sarah's team. We got together and trained. The whole community embraced us, and it was all over the media that we were going to ride our bicycles to Washington, D.C. May 14th, 1995 was Mother's Day. It was the very first day of Sarah's Ride for Missing Children. Hundreds of people were gathered at the Sarah Ann Wood Rescue Center, which was located in Washington Mills. And we rode our bicycles that morning up to the Norwich Corners Church. That was the church where Sarah Ann Wood was visiting, and her father was the pastor of the church, and she left that church on that August day in 1993, was pedaling her bicycle home, which is only about 3/4 of a mile from the church, and that's where she was abducted. There must have been about 1,000 people on the grounds of the church, and it was a very emotion-packed day. Shortly thereafter, we started our journey. We planned on getting down to somewhere around Fonda that day. And the police held back the media and the public while we passed the exact spot where Sarah was taken. We stopped there and participated in the very first silent tribute. After the silent tribute, Bob Wood said, okay, it's time to go. We got on our bikes and we headed east toward Albany. Very first day, we only made around 55 miles. We started and ended up in Fonda. The next day, we were in state capital in Albany, where we had a meeting with many dignitaries. And I can remember standing on the steps of the Capitol, standing next to Al Pileman, Major of the State Police, and the Superintendent of Police standing next to him is James McMahon, Superintendent of State Police. He said, how can I help you? And Al said to him, help us get through New York City. We got word that when we got to Fort Lee, New Jersey, we would be met by a couple of bike riders from the Staten Island Bike Club. They would be our guides. Also, we found out that NYPD would be waiting for us on the other side of the George Washington Bridge. Now, the GWB is quite a bridge to cross, especially on a bicycle. We were so excited. When we got to the Manhattan side of the bridge, there was NYPD with a van, 2 policemen, and they said, follow us. Now, this is New York City. Amazing. Everything stopped for Sarah's team. Sirens were blowing, cars were stopped. We went through Central Park. Very high rate of speed. Those guys Must have been in a hurry because they were really hauling. And I remember Bob Wood, who was alongside me, he said, wow, he said, Sarah would love this. He said she'd be screaming and yelling. Wow, he said, this is some escort. And the excitement was building as we approached our goal, which is Washington, D.C., the steps of our nation's capital. Then before we knew it, it was National Missing Children's Day, May 25th, 1995. Early that morning, we staged up. It was between around 9:30 and 10 o'clock. We approached the Capitol. And as we approached, we heard singing. That singing was coming from the entire 6th grade class from Thomas Jefferson School in North Utica. They had traveled there to be at the Capitol to meet us and greet us as we arrived. So this was Born in the Search for Sarah, a grassroots organization now transitioned to an agency that has saved lives, it has kept children safe, and it has brought children home by the distribution of millions and millions of posters in targeted areas throughout the world. So we're very proud of our origin, of course. We're also very proud of what has happened here at the center, and the awareness continues as we keep our children safer, one child at a time.